Hello and welcome to the Lifestyle Evolution Podcast. My name is Joshua Laycock and I am your host. Now, I've got my dogs here. Normally, I've got someone keeping an eye on them, so hopefully we won't get too interrupted or nobody will come to the door and they will go crazy. And if they do, we'll deal with it. Today, I had a few things that I was contemplating talking about, but something that's popping up a lot in my world right now. And it's going to seem probably like a small thing or something that can be fairly easily dismissed. But I wanted to talk about the, not even the importance, the absolutely essentialness of relaxation. Now, some of you are going to turn this off and be like, I'm not listening to a podcast about relaxing. Sure. But in an attempt to avoid getting into the sort of pop psychology world, I'd like to dive into a few areas why deep muscle relaxation can change your life if you let it. So when I'm talking about relaxing, what I'm speaking about is precisely what I just said. It is a deep, full body muscle relaxation that I would imagine the overwhelming majority of you very rarely experience, possibly even never experience it. So we're going to start with something a little bit different. Unless you're driving or operating heavy machinery or in the middle of performing surgery, what I would like you to do is to ground yourself a little bit. Bear with me here. Grounding yourself, we're not going to do a full grounding exercise, but I want you to have your feet firmly planted on the ground. And I want you to get into a comfortable spot, whether you're sitting in a chair or if you're relaxing. I want you to just sink into your chair. And if you feel like closing your eyes, go for it. This isn't going to be long. Some of you are like, okay, this guy's going off the deep end. This is weird. I'm not here to meditate. I want you to bear with me for a very short period of time, 5, 10 seconds. What I want you to simply do is consciously allow every muscle in your body to relax. Start now. Just start working on it. Your hips, your shoulders, your hands. I want you to relax your jaw. I want you to relax the tongue inside of your mouth. Just breathe normally, but allow every muscle in your body to relax. And if you feel yourself bracing somewhere or your muscles are guarding, just pay attention to it and allow your muscles to completely relax. A couple more seconds. Really melt into the relaxation. All right. Let it go. Come back to your normal state. I'm guessing if you're anything like me or the tons of people that I've done this with therapeutically or with my coaching clients, that is not a state that you are used to being in. Our bodies, by necessity, most of the time, are wound really freaking tight. We're clenching, we're guarding, we're holding ourselves in unusual positions. Maybe we have an injury that we're not, that we haven't fixed yet. So our muscles are compensating. But we're probably carrying around the stress of the day in a variety of places. For me, I carried in my jaw and my neck and into my shoulders. And when I'm really tense, into my hands. And for those of you who are watching the video, like I wring my hands when I get tense. I feel that. And it is in that tight tense state that we generate the perception of fear, that we generate anxiety, that we have stress, anger, frustration, tension, whatever you want to call it. But all of that leads to a heightened sense of arousal in our body. And I don't mean a sexual arousal. What I'm talking about here is our bodies become hyper in tune to scan the environment for threats. We're constantly looking for that next thing. And I'll be honest, I don't know if it's because most of us are no longer out in the wilderness, having to be mindful of wild beasts attacking us. Very few of us are in combat situations, although I have a lot of friends who are in um, corrections, law enforcement, paramedic, first responder, military. So you are in these places, and there's a time, right? There is a value in having your body in a bit of a heightened sense of awareness when you are in dangerous situations. And how to manage that when that's your profession is a completely different story. But I'm talking for the rest of us, or for those of you who are in those situations when you're not actively in threat. We sit in this position of tension and hyper arousal. And what does that do? So our body is scanning for threats. So all of a sudden, our mind has this really phenomenal capacity to start feeling threats or perceiving threats where none exist. Most of us sit in a hyper aroused state, constantly perceiving danger. And it is difficult for a lot of us to actually acknowledge that most of the time we are not in this exact moment in physical danger. And it has become so endemic to our world that now an email from a coworker pops up and our arousal goes up. Our state of tension goes up because I don't know what's in there. There is a fear. Fear is just really an unknown, an absence of knowledge. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's in that email. I don't know if it's someone's going to get angry with me, if it's going to be work, if it's going to be something that I don't understand, or is it just another thing that I have to do to remind me that my pile is never going to be done? But we are constantly in this state of vigilance every time a bill pops up, right? Every time we check our bank account statements for many people. For people, it's when they get on a scale. There are so many things that really ought not to be seen as a threat, but our body responds. And this state of tension, constantly in a state of hyper arousal, what does it do? Our body thinks we're under attack. So it starts protecting us. It starts doing what the body does. And again, this is not going to be a deep biological or psychological breakdown of stressors and how this works in our body. But essentially, what happens is with your body on guard all the time, it's constantly probing and attacking and looking for enemies because it's convinced we are under attack. And that leads to things like inflammation, right? And pain in our joints. And look, there's bodies of evidence and research that have suggested that a lot of our diseases are in fact caused by this hyper aroused state. For some, that's a traumatic response, those who've had trauma in their lives. I think for a lot of people, we're just responding to the like hyper in your face, never stops, constant bombardment of information and concerns and threats and social media telling us we need to be fitter and richer and reminding us how expensive everything is getting and how that person's prettier than this person. And then there's disasters around the world and wars. And oh my God, like I am physically feeling that tension in my body right now. We are tension machines, and it is killing us, literally killing us. So, what do we do about that? Aside from maybe trying to sidestep some of the noise. So, I always think of stress, anxiety, stressors like if you think of it like your bathroom sink, okay? And the water coming out of the faucet is stressors. Full torrent, those can be traumatic events, the kind of life-changing, life-altering events that sometimes we're just lucky to survive. But with media and the way that many of us choose to live our life, we are essentially living with the tap at least on a bit. Water is constantly feeding in. Even at best, if it's broken, it's dripping. And then the stopper at the bottom is how we learn to release stress. And how do we learn to release stress? Well, we learn to release stress through deep, intimate connections with people that matter. That's going to be a theme that we're always going to talk about. Deep, intimate, close connections with people that matter to you. We are not meant to be alone. And no, online isn't the same thing. I would say it's better than nothing, and having someone to talk to is good, but I'm talking physical proximity. It doesn't have to be a lover, it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship, but having friends, buddies, places, people that you can connect with and you can blow off steam, that is essential. Keeping our bodies fairly fit, working out, jujitsu, yoga, meditation, whatever that is for you, I would say that helps release some of that tension. And then I think also the more fit our bodies are, the bigger the vessel is, our capacity to handle stresses gets better, but not to complicate things. So we've got deep, intimate relationships, we've got physical health and capacity, eating healthy, working out, moving, lifting heavy things, putting heavy things down, doing jujitsu, or whatever that martial art is for you. Those things are essential. Laughter, right? Those are ways to discharge some of that stress. But then also, like that exercise we just did, physically, consciously saying, I'm not in any immediate danger right now, and I'm going to relax all my muscles. I'm going to take that tension down a notch and consciously relax your body. And I joke with some of my clients, but I mean it. And I learned this through courses and training that I've done and people that I've spoken to. You want to significantly reduce the amount of stress and anxiety in your world? Do that muscle relaxation technique, I don't know, 200 times a day. And I know that sounds like a throwaway comment, but it's true. Recognizing how tense and tight our body is most of the time is the first step to allowing it to just relax and physically allowing your body to discharge that tension. Shoulders, chest, jaw, tongue. Take the time. A guy I respect immensely, Dewey Freeman, therapist, been doing it for 150,000 years. Um, when I had the privilege of doing some work with him down in Colorado, oh God, almost a couple years ago now. It's funny, the one thing he said to me was like, start standing with your knees slightly bent. Stop locking your knees. It's incredible how many of us just stand either with all the weight loaded on one leg and our knees locked. And it creates this sense of tension in our body. So whenever I'm feeling stressed or whenever I'm feeling a little, like my anxiety levels are getting high or something, the first thing I do is I unlock my knees and I relax. And if you can integrate this tensionless state on your own, Then what's cool is you can start to integrate it into more challenging, I would say, quote unquote, legitimately more threatening environments. When I'm doing jujitsu, combat, what I had always been told, and now I always say to the kids that I'm coaching, or even if I'm rolling with someone who's brand new, the first thing you notice is that they hold their breath and they get so tense because, yeah, this person is theoretically trying to kill you, right? They're trying to choke you, they're trying to isolate your arms and do bad things. So we are in a state of tension. But what's interesting is the tighter you get, the less effective you are. You're blowing up energy, like you're going to gas out really fast. But also, you make yourself more susceptible to sweeps and to counters because you're not malleable, you're not fluid, you're not flowing, you're rigid. And in fact, one of the things that we want to do in jujitsu is we want to get heavier, we want to be grounded. Well, that tension eliminates the ground, it makes you lighter. Hence why people get swept all the time. When we stop breathing, we are constricted and we're flexing and we're trying to muscle our way through life. One of the most common things I hear the coaches say when they're walking around on the mat: breathe, relax. Even in the middle of combat, I'm not talking in between rolls. I'm talking about someone is on top of you, they're working towards getting a choke, they're squishing you, and the guy on the bottom is being told, hey, buddy, just relax. So, if in the heart of combat, relaxation makes you more effective, imagine how good that's going to feel in your day to day lives. This morning, my wife is traveling for work. So I'm solo parenting and I love it, but it's been a stressful week for us for a variety of reasons. And, the kids were just getting on my nerves and they weren't doing anything wrong. My son is hell bent on buying this thing on Amazon, and I've been teaching him. I made maybe the mistake of teaching him how to look critically at reviews and how to look at the whatever and to make a very informed decision around this purchase that he wants to make, which is about $100 for him, which is a lot of money. But he has been talking my ear off nonstop for 4 days about this thing he wants to buy. And I'm out of steam. But this morning he woke up and he was so excited, and like I realized he's doing the exact same thing. He's doing exactly what I asked him to do, right? Which is to research and get deeper. And he's excited. And I remember what I was like when I wanted something. I used to pore over, car part magazines or, you know, catalogs, and I get it. He's excited, but I was frustrated and I was annoyed, and I recognized, fortunately, that I was reacting to my own state of heightened anxiety and frustration and exhaustion, and not his excitement for this thing. So as I'm sitting in the kitchen and I'm making breakfast and I'm making lunches and I'm trying to feed the dogs and my daughter's trying to get ready and I'm doing her hair and all these things, and my son is just no 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 about this thing he wants to buy. I took a breath, I bent my knees, grounded myself, and I just, while he's speaking to me, let my body relax. I'm still focusing on him. This is not like a close your eyes and check out from the world, but I do it. And I allowed my body to relax. And I was instantly able to just absorb and take in what he was talking about and see the joy and excitement in his voice rather than this just being one more stressor that was going to push me over the edge. This is something I put into practice all the time. I actually do it while I'm in the middle of providing therapy or working with my coaching clients. All right. We're often talking about challenging, heavy things. Um, and in order to make sure that I am very present and able to respond to them in the way that they need me to, I actually will drop into myself and I will do this deep muscle relaxation while we're talking. I'm able to continue my focus. I'm actually doing it right now as we speak. I am consciously allowing certain parts of my body to relax, and we're still able to engage. Maybe the gait of my voice slows down just a little bit, but it's a tool that we can deploy all the time. There was a course on trauma that I'm taking, and it's profound. And they would repeatedly say to us, you cannot be stressed. You cannot be anxious. You cannot be fearful when you are in a relaxed muscle state. You cannot. It is not possible. If I'm having a challenging conversation with my wife, if I have a challenging conversation that I have to have at work, if I'm hearing something particularly challenging in my life and I'm finding that it is having an impact on me, our body's response is too tense. And that ability to get out of ourselves and to allow our body to relax will change your life. I believe profoundly that it will have an impact on your physical health and all the pains and ailments that you have. It's not a guarantee. I can't make that. I'm not a doctor, but I believe it. And I think that if you can integrate that into your world, not only will it help with the really stressful situations, but I think it'll also sort of energetically open you up to more happy and joyous moments um, in your life, like your ability to relax and talk to friends. Can't even tell you how many people I speak to who have like an element of social anxiety, who really don't like small talk, who don't like being in these sort of social settings. And I've interacted with these people in these settings, and I can see they are a tense ball of stress and anxiety. And if only we could just get them to discharge some of that tension. We're so in our heads these days, and as a therapist and as a coach, I deal with a lot of emotions and feelings and thoughts very much in our head. But the truth is, I think that the overwhelming majority of what happens to us is either caused by or compounded, made substantially worse by what's going on inside of our body. And we need to get out of our heads. We need to get into our hearts. We need to get into our gut. It's funny, a friend of mine who runs the Uncivilized Nation, Trevor Boehm, actually just sent out an email before I started recording. And what was he doing? He was reminding guys to actually have fun, to blow off some steam, to relax with your buddies, to laugh, to tell inappropriate jokes. This is therapy. This is coaching. This is life. These are life skills. So I'm not going to make this a really long one today. I've probably rambled on a little bit too much, but I want to drive home the importance of learning how to physically relax your body. It will bring you closer to other human beings. You create a more welcoming energy, right? Softer is welcoming, tense is repulsive. And I don't mean that in the sort of hyper visual world of, oh, you're repulsive. I'm talking about it pushes away. That tension pushes away. If you're in relationship and you come home and you're super tense and your wife is super tense and you guys aren't able to do anything about it, I'm guessing you're not meeting each other in a wonderful, happy place. You're probably at each other's throats. You're probably short with each other. At the very least, you're likely distant. Why? Because your energy is pushing that person away. A lot of people with anxiety say, like, well, see, I go into social situations and no one talks to me. And look, there's a lot of reasons why that might happen. But when you go into those settings with that level of tension and fear, and you are on heightened alert, that energy that your body is creating is like a barrier. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Of course, people aren't going to come through because you've got these energetic walls up. And I'm not being critical or I'm not putting the blame on these people, but it's like, let's raise awareness to the kind of energy that we're putting out there. So it'll bring you closer together. I believe very strongly that you will enjoy less pain. I believe that it will, at the very least, create the environment where you can then do deeper introspective work on trauma, your past history, your anxieties, low mood, These types of things, I'm not saying that if you just relax, those things will go away. I'm not. That's not how this works. But therapeutically, we talk about the set and the setting. Are you in the right kind of headspace to do the work? And are you in the right place with the right people to do the work? And part of that sort of headspace, energy space is, are you able to relax? One of the first things I do with all of my coaching and therapy clients when we get down is I go, okay, sit and just sit for a second. Most people notice when I'm sitting down for a session, the first thing I do is I take a breath and I go, okay, let's kind of get into the energy to do some work. So it'll bring you closer to people. I think it'll help with pain and tension in your bodies and all your joints. I think that it creates the set and the fertile grounds to do really good, deep introspective work. And I think just like we're unable to be angry or tense or anxious when we are tight, sorry, we're not able to be angry or tense or tight when we are in a muscle relaxed state. I also don't think that we can enjoy and laugh and play and be fun human beings when we are tense. I think that those two kind of counterbalance each other. So, how do you enjoy life? How many times have I heard someone say, I just don't know how to play? I just don't know how to let loose. Well, it starts with the energy and the tension in your entire body. It is very hard to play when you are tense and when you are stressed out. And stress is a physical response. The benefits of learning how to relax your body are almost unending. I don't think that it offers any negative downside. I think if you're dealing with some pretty heavy stuff, notably trauma, be mindful of being very relaxed because it can then, as I said, it creates the fertile grounds for doing the work. So, yes, when you are super relaxed and you're doing this introspective work, it can actually facilitate some of those emotions, some of those memories, some of those feelings to come back. So, I would say do that work with a trained therapist who can be there and guide you through that process. But for most of us, this ability to relax and to be calm is just going to give our body a break, give our immune system a break, give our autoimmune response a break, give everything a break to just be at rest. It's like I've got a bottle of water here and it's full, and I don't know, it weighs a bit, maybe a pound or two. And if I hold it straight out, it's no big deal. It's not the end of the world. But if I were to hold this out here for 10 minutes, an hour, it wouldn't take long. My hand would start to shake. My body, I'll feel it up my arms and my forearms and my shoulder. Eventually, it'll permeate into my jaw. And eventually, my whole body will be in pain because I'm holding this water bottle. I know it's an analogy that you've probably heard, but it is true. The tension that we carry is like holding that water bottle out all the time. And it is no wonder that our bodies are in pain, that we're in this sort of hyper aroused state all the time, constantly looking for threats, not able to think rationally. We're operating on the fight, flight, freeze mindset that a lot of you have heard about. We do have control over how our body shows up most of the time, provided we can bring it to the forefront consciously. So I'm going to wrap up today, but I would encourage you as we're done to sit with your feet on the ground, take a small breath, and allow all of the muscles in your body to relax again. Even if you do it for 4 or 5 seconds, it is a good reset and it will help you navigate the day. So, whatever you're doing, whether you're at work, getting the kids ready in the morning, whether you're studying, or if you're getting crushed on the mats, or if you're on top and you're crushing and you're on the mats, integrate total body muscle relaxation into your world, and I can almost guarantee you that you will see immediate results in terms of comfort, the recognition that a lot of the threats that we think we're facing in this exact moment aren't real, they're perceived threats. And it will create an environment where you can thrive or heal depending on where you are in that journey. So, yeah, relax, relax a little bit. And that's okay. Whether you are someone who is just happy to be on this planet and you're just kind of going through the motions, or you are like a hyper driven alpha who wants to have all the cars and money and wants the whole world to know your name, you all need moments of relaxation. It will make you more effective in anything that you are trying to accomplish. So I would urge you to do that. Start with maybe once an hour. Allow your body to relax. Start to be aware of those anxious feelings, that tension in your body. Integrate the relaxation. It's all you need to do. But you will not evolve. You will not level up on all the things that we've decided are important to us if we are tense and tight and crushing ourselves with this muscle tension all the time. Go forth. Have a very relaxing day.